Action. You're the director. You should say action, really, shouldn't you?
Yes. Cut.
Cut. Yeah, that's it. See ya. Hello. Thank you so much for your time today, and huge congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
I watched it last night and really enjoyed it. A lot of people have obviously seen it at different times because obviously you had Toronto and then you had all the stuff in between, and you had the US release and everything else. But you must be delighted with the reaction so far, kind of across so many different countries and people taking so much away from the film so far.
I'm so happy about it, Scott. I can't believe it. You know, I mean, I do believe it because it's a really wonderful story and it's a piece of work I'm really proud of. But for it to land, you know, in exactly the way I wanted it to, which is sort of really broad kind of audience, and you know, irrespective of gender, irrespective of age, people have really come to it, which is so heartening.
Has it been nerve-wracking? I can imagine it's because as you said there, it's a project that's dear to you and dear to Caitlin and all the people that were involved. I mean, was it nerve-wracking showing it for the first time, or did you get a bit of an adrenaline rush knowing we're finally going to show it to people?
Absolutely terrifying. I mean, it's literally like being naked on a table in front of everyone, and then they start making you dance a jig. I mean, it's so exposing. And the very first screening I had, the toughest critics of all were my daughter and all her friends, who were then 16, and you know, were totally the kind of audience that we were aiming for. The demographic in a way, and they were the toughest critics, and they were so helpful, and they were so brilliant and supportive. You know, it's always scary.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really know how long you've done, but it feels like it might be something that you've spent a long time of labouring over for a few years and everything else. What was kind of the genesis for you? Was the book your first entry, or were you kind of approached from a filmmaking point of view? Look, we're trying to adapt this book into a movie. Are you interested?
I'd read the book, and I love Caitlin's writing. I love everything about her, and the producers I was working with had got the rights to the book and to the script, and they said, do you fancy coming along for the ride? And I worked on it for a year and a half with Caitlin in terms of getting the script right, the adaptation right, getting it to be a movie, you know, with all the kind of facets that a movie requires. And it's, you know, it's been a total joy. She's a hero of mine, so you know, I jumped at it.
How important was it for you as a filmmaker to have, because obviously when you're dealing with book adaptations, you know, and they go to say studios or everything else, they have an idea of who they want to write it, and sometimes don't include the original writer, sometimes they do, sometimes they let them have the first pass. But how important was it for you to have Caitlin as part of that process, and did you feel you would be kind of cheapening her work if you didn't allow her to be part of it?
She had to be completely and utterly central to it. You know, she had to be at the heart of it totally, because it's her writing, but it's also her story, and she has a really particular voice. And my job was not to kind of take her ideas and make them my own. My job is to be her conduit, really, to be her, you know, to be the person that brings her onto the screen in the best possible way. And sometimes that included, you know, tussles between us because we were wrangling with the material and our instincts weren't always exactly the same, but that was the creative process. That's the great thing about doing it with another person. You know, she would go for the gags and I would go for the poignancy, and we'd meet somewhere in the middle, and that's what made the film what it is. We had hilarious discussions about that. She'd go, sod this. She'd go, sod the heartbreak, I want hilarious, and I'd go, no, it's going to be both. So that was the process.
Yeah, and I can imagine as well adapting stuff. I mean, I only just thought of this now, but there's been books like this that have been adapted and changed. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of High Fidelity, the book, and then obviously they changed it and set it to America. Whereas is this, you're somewhat doing the reverse in that you're setting it in England, but you've got obviously an American cast in the lead role. But I mean, again, that's a filmmaking thing, and for filmmaking choice, and as you know, casting and everything else, that to keep that heartbeat of where it's set and all the people that surround it and the environment, and then just find the best person to play it.
Totally. And it's a really titanic central role. I mean, she's in every scene apart from 3, I think. And she's a very particular, very, very particular heroine. You know, she has particular things about her. She's not your classical stick thin, you know, obvious movie star. She's body positive and, you know, voluptuous, and she's gorgeous and funny. She's funny. That's really hard. It's hard to find actors who are really, really funny.
Mm.
And she's playing 16. I mean, it was a very, very tricky role to cast, but she just, once she appeared and emerged on our radar, that was it. It was hers. And in terms of kind of being authentic, I mean, she really worked hard. She stayed in Wolverhampton. She had a job in a gift shop. She worked on the accent tirelessly. She totally absorbed everything about that role, just as any actor would any role, you know.
Yeah, and I love that. One thing I loved about the movie is not people not apologizing for making mistakes. You know, particularly at that age, we're in a world now where there's so much pressure on young people to make an impact, to either be a social media person or to make sure they look a certain way and everything else. But the great thing about this story is that it embraces not just feminism and women and everything else, but the ability that you will make mistakes, but it will still be okay. You're allowed to make mistakes. In fact, it's probably good to make mistakes. Yeah. How important do you think a story like that is, particularly now, particularly when there's so much more pressure on young people to be noticed?
Oh, I mean, it's the absolute manifesto of this film. It's the absolute, you know, beginning, middle, and end. Is that, you know, this is what we're saying. We're saying that life is not over for you as a young woman if you mess up. And I wish I'd seen it when I was 16. I wish I'd had that advice. And also I wish I'd been told in a way just to sort of lighten up and enjoy life a bit. And my daughter was 16 when she saw it and is a massive fan of Catelyn's work and, you know, loves the film, loves Beanie. And she's seen it now 6 or 7 times, and she just absolutely relates to it on a profound level. You know, this is exactly where I'm at. I'm not sure of myself. I'm unconfident. I don't quite know which guy I should or shouldn't shag. You know, this is the stuff that's clanging around in a young person's head, and it's so nice to feel like someone else has been there, someone else has done it, and they've survived. They're okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed the film, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks, Scott.
No worries. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.